Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. If you are joining us for the first time, we appreciate your time. In this episode, I will be looking at how the European Union's risky approach to tightening Russian sanctions is going to impact the continent of Africa and a number of European and foreign businesses that are currently operating in the continent of Africa. Like I've always said on this channel, Africa should pay attention on what's happening in Brussels and Washington, because that's where the geopolitical policies are being set and then it's trickled down to affect the continent's development and growth in a number of areas. I will be looking at some very important specifics here. Why Brussels seeks to fight sanctions avoidance by moving to enforce them on a non-European businesses in countries outside European Union jurisdiction. This is a very important area where Africa should pay attention in a number of areas. Why EU is tightening the screw as Africa pay attention on other issues. I will be looking at first, the European Union is mimicking the United States of America's approach to sanction enforcement. The second thing I will discuss in this video will be why Brussels is preparing secondary measures against third countries. Why Africa should pay attention again. The third thing I will look into this video will be the largest developing countries could become EU targets, and African nations will be top on the agenda with regards to the companies that are operating in the region. So if you like videos like this, I will encourage you to smash the like button, share the video with your different network as we continue to unravel how Africa interact with its global partners. So without any more delay, let's just dive straight into it. If you look at the strategic options as Africa should pay attention in this particular area, Global South responses to European Union extraterritorial reality as well is an important aspect where the continent of Africa should refocus its strategy. After the initial waves of sanctions failed to sufficiently cripple Russia's economy, the United States of America and European Union, some other Western nations responded by turning to extraterritorial measures, often banning third country usage of their respective currencies in cross-border transactions. The freezing have undermined the credibility of the euro and also dollar as having raising implications for non-Western governments managing their financial reserves. If you look at the strategic implication, this outcome arose because China, India, Brazil, South Africa, and other global South countries continue to trade with Russia. Unexpectedly, many increased their respective bilateral trade with Moscow and expand sanction evasion across a range of economic sectors, including finance, energy, trade in strategic manufactured goods, and also high-tech goods as well. Most developing world countries consider Russia's invasion of Ukraine unlawful, but have argued that the conflict ought to be contained with compromises and ceasefire rather than unilateral sanction and weapons supply to Ukraine. India External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar conveyed those countries' sentiments when he advised in 2022 that Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problem, but that the world's problems are not Europe's problem. If you look at strategic option, the freezing of Russia's asset has become held in the West as a proper and unified response to Russia's war. However, it sends a troubling message to many in the rest of the Global South. Global South governments now wonder if holding their own overseas asset in euros and the United States of America's dollar is so smart, as they themselves could face similar actions in the future. The freeze has undermined the credibility of the euro and the United States of America's dollar as havens, also raising implications for non-Western governments managing their financial reserve, like I have pointed out. In a striking example of currency nervousness, Algeria introduced a clause in its 2023 agreement for gas sales to European partners. It reserves the right to change the transaction currency on a half-year basis. Similar nervousness can be detected across the Global South, where countries increasingly use their own currency. The Chinese yuan or other alternative financial instruments in trade. That slow but surely undermines the global relevance of the leading Western currencies. If you look at strategic options, as Africa should pay attention near at the moment, looking at what's happening in Brussels and in Washington on how its geopolitical partners are setting policies, why the European Union might successfully apply extraterritorial measures against smaller sanctions evading economy such as Armenia or perhaps even Kazakhstan and some countries across the continent of Africa, doing same with hefty actors like China, India, South Africa or NATO members. Turkey will also practically be out of question. If you look at strategic option as I close this episode, China, which has come under scrutiny over its substantive dual-use goods trade with Russia, has already warned Brussels if China is sanctioned over that matter, Beijing will respond with counter-sanctions. In such an event, various European Union member states that have significant economic interest with China, including Germany and also France, will push back vigorous against extraterritorial sanction. Look at the scenarios at the moment that could happen. Most likely scenario from my own perspective, European Union doubles down on extraterritorial sanctions. The way the development in Brussels are pointing today, European Union is about to implement secondary sanctions against third countries charged with weakening its steadily expansion sanction regime. While those measures run contrary to the traditional approach of European Union jurisprudence in avoiding extraterritorial overreach, sanctions manipulation and also avoidance by an increasing number of non-Western states appears to have persuaded Brussels that effective enforcement can only be achieved by targeting legal entities worldwide, possibly also including governments. Hence, the move widens the European Union existing or already significant extraterritorial powers. As Russia's economy continues to expand its bilateral trade in strategic sectors such as energy, mainly through partners in non-Western world, China, India, Brazil and Turkey account for the bulk of such trade. The question arises, how far will the European Union go in sanctioned entities in those countries? Those trading subjects most likely include large state-owned enterprises common in the developing world and large private companies critical to growth and also social stability. If you look at other areas, the July 2024 visit of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Moscow, his first trip there since Ukraine conflict broke out, has sent an anonymous signal about the coming troubles that are also in the geopolitical spectrum. Daily also diplomatic gesture following on the heels of Russian President Vladimir Putin's state visit to Vietnam, another important developing country with which the European Union hopes to forge close economic relations, shows how complex the European Union task of enforcing its own sanctions is going to be. Many global South countries rely heavily on Moscow for energy and also in arms. If you look at the second scenario, which I would say is less likely, the European Union tamps down on extraterritorial sanctions. The European Union has long maintained that extraterritorial sanctions violates targeted countries' territorial integrity and sovereignty. The same principle that Brussels raised regarding the need to reverse Russia's occupation of parts of Ukraine and uphold Kiev's right to decide its own membership of NATO. Ironically, the European Union is now moving in disregard to those very same principles. Therefore, from the international law perspective, the European Union may in the future return to its previous legal position. This could even include the possibility of employing an instrument similar to the 1996 law known as the blocking status, applied by the EU to protect European Union nationals and legal entities from the extraterritorial effects of the United States sanctions against Cuba, Libya, and also Iran. If you look at the strategic option here, the European Union turn away from extraterritorial could also stem from practical consideration. The European Union alliance lacked the financial and economic clout of the United States of America's compelled non-EU entities to comply with its policy. The US enforces its sanction by leveraging the dollar as a powerful economic instrument, which the euro cannot replicate in terms of deterrent effect. As a result, the European Union needs to develop additional economic tools to create an effective bargaining chips. In the financial sector, their institutions lack the strength and also the global reach of their American counterpart. However, the principal reason the European Union may withdraw from the extraterritorial sanction in the prospect of retaliation from affected countries. Hopefully we've informed you regarding the strategic issue as the reason why risky European Union approach to tightening Russian sanctions may backfire from a whole variety of perspectives, and why Africa as a continent, including a number of countries in the region, should pay attention clearly on how they interact and operate with European businesses that are currently doing business in the continent of Africa. We want to thank you for watching. Give us a like, share the video, watch other informative content on our YouTube channel. We are looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.